My son drained my bank account and flew to Italy with his wife and her mother. 3 days later, he called me from a restaurant overseas, shouting, "What did you do? I hate you." I stood at my kitchen sink, one hand on my cup, the other steady on my notebook. I didn't scream back. I simply reminded him that every withdrawal leaves a trail, and that trail now had my name cleared and his printed on it. He hung up. But that call was only the beginning of a story that turned silence into justice. Before I continue, please subscribe to the channel and tell me where you're watching from. If this story already hits close to home, leave a 1 in the comments so I know you're here with me. I got home from my late laundry shift just after 9, the kind of tired that makes your knees talk when you bend. The kitchen was dark except for one flickering fluorescent tube over the sink. The hum of it filled the silence, steady as a heartbeat. My phone sat face down on the table next to the grocery list I'd never finished. I dropped my purse on the chair, rubbed the ache from my shoulders, and reached for the phone. Habit made my thumb swipe before I even knew what I was checking. The banking app blinked open, blue background, white numbers, and for a moment, everything looked normal. Then the balance refreshed. Available balance, 0.0. I blinked once, twice. Maybe the app was frozen. I closed it, reopened it. The same number stared back, flat and cold. My breath made a faint fog on the screen. I counted to 4, the way I do when a dryer jams at work. It didn't help. My checking account, my safety net since the day my husband died, was empty. I scrolled through the last transactions, deposits from the laundry, automatic bill payments, the small grocery run from Sunday. No big withdrawals, no notes, no alerts, nothing out of place, except the part where everything was gone. I sat down in the faded chair by the window, the one that still smelled faintly of lemon cleaner. Outside, the streetlight threw yellow stripes through the mesh fence. I remembered the first overtime shift that had put $20 extra in this account. How proud I'd been to hand my son a new pair of cleats that week. My eyes burned, but I didn't cry. I hadn't worked this long to fall apart over a number. When morning came, the sunlight caught the dust on the countertop, turning it into tiny stars. A sharp clack echoed from the mail slot. The postal carrier never lingered. He just kept moving, rhythm steady down the street. One padded envelope slid onto the rug. I bent to pick it up. The printed label stopped me. To Jackson and Tanya Price, my address underneath. For a second, I thought it was a mistake, a mix-up from the fundraiser I'd joined last month. But no, my own name was gone, erased, like I'd moved out of my own house without notice. I held the envelope, felt the heat rise behind my ears. It wasn't heavy, but the insult weighed enough. I didn't tear it open. I placed it beside the phone on the table, the two of them side by side, silent witnesses to something I hadn't yet named. I looked around the room, taking inventory of what was still mine, the key ring hanging on the hook, the folder with my mortgage receipts, the red notebook standing upright on the shelf. Those things were real. They carried my handwriting, my initials. The phone stayed still. No messages, no calls. I didn't reach for it. I made coffee instead, the smell grounding me back to earth. I checked the banking app one last time, still 0. I counted my breaths and let the calm return in small pieces. Then I reached for the red notebook. On the first blank page, I wrote the date and time, neat as an office clerk. Balance $0. Name on my door, missing. I underlined both sentences twice. No drama, no curses, just facts. The notebook would remember even if no one else did. The refrigerator hummed behind me as I slid the envelope beneath the notebook and set my phone face down on top. The kitchen returned to its ordinary rhythm, the hum, the faint click of the cooling metal, but I didn't. I washed one coffee cup, turned it upside down in the rack, and watch the last drip slide down the porcelain. Tomorrow, I'd start asking questions. Tonight, I'd sleep with both eyes open. Morning slid into late afternoon before I touched the phone again. I rinsed my cup, dried it with the old dish towel, and turned the screen face up. The app tiles looked harmless. Weather, photos, banking, little squares pretending the world is tidy. I opened Instagram to numb my mind for a minute. A reel jumped alive on its own. Cobblestone streets, a flash of gold light on old stone, and then my son lifting a glass like a movie star. He looked 10 years younger in that frame. Jaw clean, shirt crisp, the kind of smile people grow when they forget who did their laundry. The caption sat under him like a dare. I deserve this. I could have stopped there. Could have let the video pass like a bus I wasn't waiting for. But my thumb dragged the comments up. The top one hooked me by the throat. "Thanks, Mama-in-law." No mention of me. I swallowed once, then twice. I turned the sound off. If laughter was playing under that video, I didn't want it inside my house. No texting, no ranting. I watched instead. I studied the reel like a clerk balances a drawer. Rome tagged at the Colosseum. Posted last night, Los Angeles time. Their glasses were the same brand the Italian restaurant on Crenshaw uses for anniversaries. My son clinked his with Tanya's and with her mother, woman with a hard smile and careful nails, while the camera swung. Too pleased with itself, I felt the old tremble work up my fingers, the one I used to hide when a bill collector would call, and I pressed my palm flat on the table until it stopped. Rules. Sila. I told myself, out loud, so I could hear the bones of them. 1, I don't call him today. 2, I don't accuse anyone without paper. 3, I don't leave gaps in my notes. Saying those words steadied me better than coffee. The sun had started to tilt when I cut 2 squares of cornbread, wrapped them in foil, and crossed the street. Bram Caldwell's porch light was already on, though the sky wasn't dark yet. Retired pharmaceutical accountant, widower, neat as a ledger. Bram kept his mail rubber-banded and his pencils sharpened to the same length. When I knocked, he opened the door with that polite slump men get when they've learned to carry their loneliness with manners. "Evening, Sela," he said. "You all right?" "I brought cornbread," I answered, as if that were the whole story. "And I need a lesson." He didn't ask for the kind, he just waved me in. The house smelled like coffee and paper. On the kitchen table sat a small printer and an old desktop that still had a button you had to press. He poured 2 mugs and slid one to me. We didn't touch the cornbread yet. "I need to look at my bank statements the right way," I said. "Not screenshots. The kind that won't disappear when somebody rewrites the page." Bram nodded, turned the monitor toward me, and waited. I pulled my phone from my pocket and logged into the bank with my own 2 thumbs, the same way I'd done 1,000 times to check if the light bill cleared. I forwarded the secure link to his email, clicked it on his computer, and watched my account open in a cleaner format than the app ever showed me. Dates lined up, amounts fell in columns. There it was, transfer after transfer with dull little notes, online, online, online. "Don't save as pictures," he said, slow enough for my heartbeat to catch his pace. "Export the CSV. It's a spreadsheet with timestamps. Most systems respect those." I found the export button where he pointed. Click. A file downloaded with my name in the title and the time in the header. We opened it, and the rows looked like soldiers standing at attention. My confidence rose a notch. I printed the first 10 pages. The machine chugged and coughed paper into a neat stack. "Initial each page in the same place," Bram said, handing me a blue pen. "Bottom right corner. Number them. Write the export time on page 1 and circle it. If you ever need to show sequence, that matters." I signed S, Marlowe, where he told me, numbered 1 through 10, and wrote the time. It felt like putting my hand back on my own life. The little flicker of power warmed the tips of my fingers. "Now cross-reference," he said. "Make your notebook match the CSV line by line. If you saw it, write it. If you didn't do it, write that too." We spread the stack out and I opened my red notebook in the middle of his table. New page, date at the top, under it. A grid I drew with that same blue pen, date, amount, online transfer, and a final column labeled, "Not me." The work settled me. I used to inventory towels at the laundry, count, fold, tie with twine, and this felt like that. Only the cloth was paper and the load was mine. "Systems overwrite logs sometimes," Bram added, almost gentle. "You're moving fast. Keep moving. The sooner you date stamp, the better the trail." I nodded. He didn't ask about Jackson. I didn't offer. We finished the mug of coffee, split the cornbread, and sat a while without speaking. My breathing matched the printer's little whir. When I gathered the pages, my hands were steady. On the sidewalk outside, the sky had gone purple. I took my phone out. Thumb hovered over my son's name, then dropped it back in my pocket. Calling now would make this about feelings, and feelings don't carry much weight in rooms where people wear badges. Back home. I set the numbered stack beneath the red notebook. I opened Instagram one last time. Rome kept looping. Wider city, platters of pasta, a slow pan over a fountain throwing coins back the sun. I didn't watch their faces anymore. I looked at the timestamps, the travel day, the sequence, in the search bar. I typed the name of the restaurant on the reel and screenshotted their posted hours only because their page was public. I wrote those hours in the notebook too, because Bram was right. Pages overwrite, memory skips, paper keeps. I stood at the counter and spoke the rules again, quietly this time. No calls, no accusations, no gaps. Then I flipped to a fresh page and started a list titled, "Next, Bank Branch Manager, Elder Financial Abuse Hotline," and, if needed, a police report number. I didn't want to go that far, but want wasn't part of it anymore. The phone buzzed with another like on the Rome reel. I turned notifications off. My house deserved better than to be a bell for someone else's parade. I wrote one more line in the notebook before I closed it. The money is not a gift. It is oxygen. Nobody gets to borrow my breath. I slid the notebook into the center of the table. The stack of pages rested under it like a spine. The envelope from yesterday, addressed to Jackson and Tanya at my address, stayed put under everything. Silent, but not forgotten. I didn't open it. It could wait its turn like the rest. When night settled, I called across the street to Bram to say thank you. He lifted a hand from his porch chair. "Date stamp before bed," he said, like a good night. "I will." In my room, I didn't pray for apologies. I asked for clarity, for steady hands, for a voice that could read numbers without shaking. I set 3 alarms, one to call the bank when they opened, one to speak to the branch manager, and one to record the reference numbers after both calls. It felt small and large at the same time, like planting a stake in the ground you already owned. Before lights out, I allowed myself a single look at the last Rome post. My son had his chin tipped toward the lens like a man who'd never missed a bill in his life. I touched the glass with 2 fingers, then pulled my hand back. I wasn't blessing him. I was telling myself the truth. Love without a boundary is just a leaking pipe. I slept with the phone on the nightstand, face down, the way you put a lid on a pot that's about to boil. Morning would come. The rules would hold. And the next step would not be an argument. It would have a case number. I woke to my first alarm and didn't let the second one speak. Coffee, 2 slices of toast, the red notebook open to the page I'd titled Next. Before I dialed the bank, I dragged the old chair out from the wall to sweep. Dust bunnies rolled like tiny tumbleweeds, and with them slid a torn plastic sleeve and a folded envelope I didn't recognize. I froze with the broom still in my hand. Nothing dramatic, just that prickle between the shoulders you get when a door you knew was locked sits open a crack. I knelt and lifted the sleeve. Inside lay 3 thin packets, a photocopied will, a power of attorney, and a draft grant deed. Each bore a signature that read like mine if a stranger had practiced it twice. Loop too perfect, pressure wrong. The E leaning like it didn't know where it was going. I didn't call his name. I didn't talk to the empty room. I set the broom aside, laid the papers flat on the table, and watched my breath quiet itself. Photograph first. Touch later. I took clear photos with the phone's timestamp showing, front and back, then slid the packets into a clean manila folder from the drawer where I keep stamps and warranty cards. In the notebook, I wrote, "Found under chair during morning sweep," the time, and a short description of each document. I underlined the words, "Not my signature," and moved my coffee to the other side of the table so I wouldn't drip it on anything. I shut off the bank alarm and instead grabbed my bus pass. Today required a different kind of conversation first. On Wilshire, a small legal clinic runs out of a Koreatown storefront 2 mornings a week. I'd seen the flyer at the library. Narina Grayson volunteers there. Civil attorney. Plain shoes. Eyes that look like they've read too many bills for people who had to choose between medicine and rent. I rode the 754, counted 6 stops, and got off into the steady food smells and the sound of a delivery truck backing up. Inside, a young intake worker asked for my name and a sentence about why I was there. Possible forged documents. Elder financial exploitation, I said, keeping my voice even. 10 minutes later, Narina waved me into a back room with a table scarred by 1,000 paper clips. "Lay it out," she said. I did. Will on the left, power of attorney in the middle, deed draft on the right. Narina put a sticky note above each like labels in a museum and started teaching without making me feel like a student. Power of attorney works while you're alive and only if you truly signed it. A will speaks after you're gone. A deed speaks to who owns your house right now. She tapped the forged signature lines. These are 3 different doors. A person with bad intentions only needs one to swing. She slid a pen cap along the margins. Here's where they try to squeeze through. Rushed notarizations, witnesses who are cousins, emergency language that makes banks skip steps, convenience accounts mislabeled as joint. People love to call something caretaking when it's control. She wasn't ranting. She was drawing a map. "What do I do first?" I asked. "No speeches," she said, and I felt relief at the words. "You're already doing it. Keep your evidence log. Request certified copies from the county recorder if anything has been filed. Go to your bank today. Ask for a record of every change to your profile. Joint owners, beneficiaries, powers of attorney, anything. Put your request in writing. Use the phrase suspected elder financial exploitation and ask them to flag your account for review. Get a reference number. Then we talk about next steps when they answer." We made a short list together in my notebook and I added checkboxes. She didn't ask me to tell the whole family story. She cared about dates, stamps, and the way letters lean when a liar signs them. On my way out, I paused at the door. I paused. "If someone tried to kill a mother on paper, is there a word for that?" I asked, surprised to hear the question come from my own mouth. Narina looked at me. "There's the legal term, and then there's the truth. Call it what it is, theft with a pen." She handed me a copy of the clinic's resource list. Start at the bank. Back in my neighborhood, the branch looked the same as it had the day I opened my account. Cold glass. The smell of carpet cleaner. I took a number and waited across from a poster about savings goals that pictured a family on a picnic blanket. When my number showed, I walked to the counter and set down my ID, my account card, and the written request Narina told me to prepare. "I need copies of any and all changes to my account profile," I said. "Joint names, beneficiary updates, powers of attorney. I'm submitting this for an internal review and fraud flag regarding suspected elder financial exploitation." The teller read, then glanced at her screen. "Ma'am, are you the guardian or caretaker on this file?" I let the question hang in the air until we both could feel its weight. "I'm the owner," I said, without raising my voice. I did not smile. I did not explain my age or my hands or what my son used to call me when he was small. I was the owner before she was hired. That was enough. "Understood," she said quickly, cheeks flushing the way cheeks do when a person realizes the script they just read aloud isn't fit for the room they're in. "Let me get my supervisor." We stepped to a side desk. The supervisor wore a tie that looked like it fought him every morning. He read my request, clicked through screens, and then nodded. "We'll open an internal case. This is your reference number." He stamped my paper with today's date, wrote the number on it, and slid a copy back to me. "You'll receive a letter within 10 business days." I wrote the number and the time in my red notebook before I stood up, then asked for one more thing. "Please print the profile page that shows who is authorized to view or move funds. I'd like it counterstamped to confirm what it says today." He hesitated, then printed and stamped it. "Here you go, Ms. Marlowe." Back outside, I didn't let the wind scatter my papers. I tucked them into the manila folder and held the folder under my arm like a book I planned to finish. At the bus stop, I sent myself an email from my phone with the case number in the subject line, so a future me wouldn't have to dig when a future official asked, "At home?" I slid the new stamped pages behind the notebook's front cover. I turned to the checklist and put a small check beside the first 3 boxes. I wrote a line I hadn't planned. "If they ask who I am, I say it once." Then I walked the old chair back to its corner and wiped the floor where the envelope had lived, as if cleaning the spot could remove the idea that someone had intended to erase me from my own house. I didn't rehearse speeches. I didn't picture courtroom scenes. I boiled pasta, answered a neighbor's text about trash day, and set my alarms for tomorrow's calls to the county recorder. Quiet is not surrender. It's a place to stack signatures that are mine and refuse the ones that aren't. The morning after the bank visit, I started where I ended, at my kitchen table with the red notebook open and a pen that writes the first time, not the third. I wrote the date, then 3 clean lines. File Elder Financial Exploitation Report. Request verification hold. Log every name and number. No speeches to empty chairs. Just tasks. I checked my phone battery, slid the manila folder beside the notebook, and dialed Narina before I moved. She answered on the second ring. "Tell me what you're doing today," she said, not "how are you?" I like that. "I'm filing the report in person. Then back to the bank to request a temporary hold on transfers pending review. I'll ask for a written case number and a policy citation." I heard the steadiness in my own voice. "Good," she said. "The form is the Elder Financial Exploitation Report. Bring your CSV pages. Ask for the Fraud Investigations Department, not just customer service. I'm texting you a checklist." My phone buzzed with a short list and a reminder. Get receipt stamps. I took the 40 bus and walked the half block to the clinic. At the front desk, I said, "I'm reporting suspected elder financial exploitation," and handed the clerk my ID. No need to tell the story from birth. Narina was already with someone, so the clerk led me to a side table with the form and a pen, then gave me the kind of space that doesn't feel like distance. I laid out the CSV printouts, matched dates to withdrawals I didn't make, and wrote short entries in the narrative box. Not me. Online transfer. Unknown device. Balance zeroed without authorization. I kept my handwriting legible and my sentences short. When I got to the signature line, I pressed my name once and let go of the pen. The clerk returned with a stamp pad. "We'll date stamp your copy and the clinic intake slip," she said. The ink thumped the page. Today's date, clean and dark. She wrote an intake number on the corner and circled it. I opened the notebook and copied the number, the time, and her first name. "Thank you," I said, "because you say it to people who help you hold a line, even when you're paying no one." On my way out, Narina caught my eye and gave a small nod that meant, "Keep going." Back at the neighborhood bank, I didn't start at the counter. "I need a supervisor for a fraud matter," I told the greeter. I stood with my folder close to my ribs and looked like a woman who had already been told no and learned what to do next. The same supervisor as yesterday, Ty still losing the fight, met me at a side desk. I placed the stamped report on the table and slid over my written request. "I'm asking for a temporary verification hold on my accounts," I said, "pending the bank's internal review of suspected elder financial exploitation. Please block further transfers until verification is complete. I'd like the case number and a printout of the policy you're using." He skimmed the first page, glanced at the stamp, then logged in and began typing notes. I watched his hands, not his face. "We can initiate a 72-hour verification hold," he said, "and we'll extend it if the investigation requires it." "I'll need that in writing today," I said, not unkindly. He printed 2 pages, policy excerpt and case confirmation, and stamped both. He slid my copy forward. "Here's your case number. Fraud will call you within the next 2 business days. Keep your phone on. If you get any calls or texts about wire transfers, bring them in." "I log every call," I said, and wrote his name, the time, and the number into my notebook before I stood. I did not ask him if he had children. I did not tell him that I once taught my son to write his name by tracing mine. On the sidewalk, I texted Bram, "Hold placed. Needs CSV refresh." He answered, "Door open." His porch smelled like coffee and printer toner. We sat at his kitchen table with the old desktop humming like an appliance that knows you by your username. I forwarded yesterday's case number email to his address so we could attach it to a single folder. Bram navigated to the bank's export page, and I watched the cursor move without impatience. "Screenshots lie," he said. "CSV remembers." "We timestamp and initial every page," I said. "Half to him, half to the woman I used to be who didn't know those words mattered." We printed the latest CSV with the new withdrawals highlighted by time. I initialed the bottom right corner of every page and wrote the export time in blue ink. Bram clipped the stack and handed me the pen again. "Sign the top sheet as custodian of your own records," he said. "It helps later, more than you'd think." I signed. We checked off the items on Narina's texted list. Report filed, copy stamped, bank hold initiated, case number logged, CSV refreshed. "You'll get pings," Bram said as he rinsed our cups. "Interbank messages sometimes shake loose when a hold goes down. Answer unknown numbers. Write everything down before you breathe out." I smiled at that. I can do both. On my way home, my phone vibrated with an unknown caller ID. I stepped into the shade of a storefront and answered, "This is Scylla." A woman introduced herself from the bank's fraud unit. She asked 3 verification questions I could answer in my sleep. Last direct deposit, last ATM I used, middle initial on my account profile. Then she asked whether I had authorized transfers to an account ending in 4 digits I didn't recognize. "No," I said. "I am the owner. No one is authorized to move money but me." I wrote her name, callback extension, and the 4 digits in the notebook while we spoke. "I've placed a temporary block," she said. "It will trigger notifications to any linked external accounts. If you receive contact from anyone claiming to be us, requesting codes, do not provide them." "I won't," I said. "I'll call the number on the back of my card." When we hung up, I wrote the time, then texted Bram and Narina a simple update. Fraud unit engaged. Block confirmed. Waiting on outreach to externals. I put my phone away and walked the last block home like any neighbor out for air, inside. I opened the notebook and wrote a line at the bottom of the page. No contact with family during verification. Then I underlined it. Not to punish anyone, to protect the work. The afternoon thinned out the way afternoons do. Some dishes, a load of laundry, the small relief of routine. I didn't open social media. I didn't give myself the small hurt of watching my boy raise a glass in a city I've never stood in. I made a sandwich and ate it standing up. When the timer I set for myself chimed, I checked the banking app. A small banner had appeared. Transactions temporarily on hold pending review. Not a victory parade. A door. I folded the manila folder closed with the kind of care you give to something that can save you later. I set it beside the sink like clean dishes ready to be used again. My phone sat face down next to the notebook. If it buzzed, it would be a system, not a person, and that was fine by me. Just before evening, I called my voicemail and recorded a new greeting. "You've reached Selah Marlowe. If you're calling about the bank review, leave your case number. If you're calling for any other reason, I'll return your call when I'm able." I saved it and felt the small click of a boundary setting into place. I looked at the chair where I'd found the envelope and didn't move it. I had opened the right door today. I didn't need to reopen the wrong one to check if it was still there. In the notebook, I drew a small square next to tomorrow's lines: county recorder, notary verification, device logs, and filled it in with blue, one good square at a time. My hands remembered how to hold a life steady without shouting. The banking app cast a quiet light across the table. Temporary hold, it said. I closed the app and let the room return to itself. Progress doesn't make noise. It leaves a trail. Last night, I set a boundary on my voicemail. This morning, I drew one on paper. At the kitchen table, I copied the bank case number and the clinic stamp, then wrote a header in the red notebook: "Evidence that expires." Under it, lobby cameras, notary journal, teller window footage, empty boxes beside each. At 8:02 a.m., I called Narina. "First grabs?" she asked. "Notary journal, lobby CCTV, teller windows," I said. "Some systems overwrite at 14 days. Most do. Ask for a certified copy of the journal page with your alleged signature and a written attestation. For cameras. File retention requests today, lobby and teller. Put your case number on everything. Chain of custody matters. I'll bring the CSV pages. Good. If security can seal a USB, have them initial the sticker over the seam." I caught the 40. At the downtown building, the guard scanned my bag, gave me a visitor badge, and pointed me upstairs. I signed the ledger the way I sign things now, slow and deliberate. At the notary counter, I slid my ID forward. "I'm requesting a certified copy of the journal page for a notarization under my name," I said, giving the date range. She checked her screen, then opened a bound book. There it was, my name in someone else's hand. "That's me," I said. "And that isn't..." The initial hooked the wrong way. The driver license number was off by 1 digit. "I'd like a certified copy of this line and your attestation that it's a true copy," I said. She copied, stamped, signed. I slipped the sheet into my folder and wrote the time in the notebook. Downstairs, I went to security. "I need a CCTV retention request for the lobby for this date and time," I said, pointing to the journal copy. The guard printed a form. I filled it out, added my case number. He tore off a ticket. "Footage cues by end of day," he said. "Come back tomorrow." "Can you seal a USB when it's ready?" I asked. He held up tamper stickers. "We'll initial across the seam." On the sidewalk, I called Narina and read the ticket number. She texted chain of custody language: who received, who copied, who sealed, time, date, initials. As I headed to the bus, Bram called. "Don't forget teller windows," he said. "If documents were presented, the camera above the counter might show who did it. Ask for retention on the wire desk, too." "On my list," I said, and drew 2 more boxes. At my branch, I asked for the records clerk. "I have an active fraud case," I said, sliding the confirmation page across, "requesting retention of teller window and wire desk footage for these hours." I wrote the window, 30 minutes before the first unauthorized transfer through 30 minutes after the last. He printed an internal form. I filled it out in block letters. He gave me a reference number. I wrote it down. While I waited, my phone buzzed. American Citizen Services emailed a QR appointment and one line: "Bring source of funds documentation." The anger riding in the back seat moved over for something steadier. The holds here were starting to ripple there. I forwarded the email to myself and to Narina with a subject I could search later: ACS appointment, source of funds. Then I walked to the clinic and took an empty table. I laid out a packet: CSV printouts with my initials, the stamped elder exploitation report, the notary journal copy and attestation, the lobby ticket, the teller and wire desk forms, the case confirmations. I clipped each stack and wrote "today" across the top. Narina stopped by between clients. "Good," she said. "When ACS says source of funds, bring anything that shows the money was yours before it was anybody else's. Pay stubs, pension letters, tax returns, deposit slips. Keep it boring. Boring reads as credible." "I have the pension award letter and last year's return," I said. "Add a simple cover sheet," she said. "Name, case number, contents. Don't tell a story. Let the paper speak." I went home, bus, crosswalk, key in the lock, and set the folder beside the red notebook. I logged every reference number and time. I set 2 alarms, one for the lobby footage pickup window, one an hour before the ACS appointment. For once, I left the phone face up. Dinner was a plain bowl of soup. I didn't open social media. I didn't look for my son's face in anyone's vacation. I washed the bowl, wiped the counter, and turned the notebook to tomorrow's page. I drew 3 boxes: pickup lobby USB, confirm teller footage retention, print pension letter, and tax return. I wrote the ACS address under the boxes and slid a clear sleeve over the packet so nothing could fall out when I moved fast. The clock was still running, but it was my clock now. Before bed, I called my voicemail to make sure the boundary message still held. It did. I put the folder in my tote, set my shoes by the door, and turned off the kitchen light. The room went dark, but the plan did not. The plan had timestamps. I left the phone face up on purpose. The alarms for tomorrow were set. The packet was squared under the red notebook, and I was rinsing a single cup when the phone rattled against the counter. Trent's name filled the screen. For a heartbeat, I saw him at 6, barefoot on our porch with a popsicle stain. Then the present settled in. I answered. Noise hit first: silverware. A waiter trying for careful English. Someone laughing too loudly 2 tables over. "Mom," Trent said, breathless, half whispering. My card declined. I pinched the bridge of my nose to keep my voice steady. "Read me the message on the terminal. Word for word." "What, can you talk to the waiter?" "Trent, the message..." He exhaled hard. "Authorization failed. Declined. Try another method." "Okay," I said. "The bank placed a temporary verification hold while they review the fraud report. If you have cash, use cash. If not, ask them to split the bill, or wait while you call the card issuer." Silence. Then a new voice bled through. Isolde, smooth and sour. "We should have never relied on him." A chair scraped. The waiter's voice reappeared. Patient. We can separate. Senora. Callista cut in, flat as a lid closing. We're not waiting. I could hear Trent swallow. They're staring at me, he said. And in that moment, I felt the old reflex lift its head, the one that wants to throw a coat over a grown man's shoulders. I lowered it back down. Listen to me, I said. You have two options you can control. Ask the restaurant to wait while you step to the back and call the number on the card, or pay with cash. That's it. He muttered something I didn't catch. The line crackled. Then it went dead. A text arrived. A photo of a bill with 3 failed authorizations. I saved the image, screenshotted the thread, and wrote the time in the notebook with 2 short lines. Declined at pause and pain 3 attempts. Waiter offered split. Callista refused. The phone rang again. Street noise this time, voices, scooter buzz, a taxi idling. They left, Trent said. In the background, a driver said, cash only, like a rule learned in childhood. I looked at the cup in the sink, still wet. Where are you? Outside the restaurant. Taxi stand. He sounded smaller than his age, but not younger. Smaller like someone who has run out of moves. Do you want my advice? I asked. I want you to wire me money. I can't, I said. There is a verification hold and a fraud case attached to my account. You know, both of those are true. I read the case number, slow enough for him to write it in the notes app I hoped he had. Use your own card's customer service. Ask for a travel override. Keep receipts. A scrape, a muffled curse, a breath blown through the nose. Callista says figure it out, he said. I heard. I replied. Isolde's heels clicked like punctuation. A car door opened, then shut. The taxi in Trent's line pulled away. He coughed once in the exhaust and said nothing for a long 10 seconds. Trent, I said, I'm not hanging up, but I'm also not sending money out of a locked account. That would be a lie to the bank and a rope around both our necks. A new voice, farther away. Callista again, cool as tap water. We'll be at the hotel. The line shifted, then steadied. I pictured him on the curb with the wrong suitcase, the way men hold shame in their shoulders. Back of the restaurant, I said, keeping my voice soft and practical. Quiet corner, turn your back to the street, call the number on the card, ask for a temporary override. If they won't, ask the waiter if you can leave your passport at the desk and come back with cash after the ATM. Keep receipts. Text me only the facts. He let out a sound that wasn't quite agreement and wasn't quite refusal. You always do this, he said. Low. Keep a situation in the real world? I asked. Yes. I hate this, he said. Me too. I said, go handle your card. The call ended. I sat down at the table and wrote the second time in the notebook with the same pen. I attached the bill photo to an email addressed to myself with the subject, Declined Restaurant Rome Time. Then I placed the phone beside the notebook and waited, not for him to call back, but for my heartbeat to come down. 10 minutes later, a text arrived, 2 lines only. On hold with issuer. Waiter holding passport. I replied with a thumbs up because a word might open a door I didn't want us walking through. I thought about opening Instagram to see if someone had posted the humiliation, but that's the thing about humiliation. When it's real, it doesn't need an audience. It already found one. I rinsed the cup again because my hands needed work and the cup didn't mind. Another text. Override granted on paid bill. Taxi back to hotel. No apology tucked inside, no blame either. Just facts. I saved the thread as a PDF to my email and wrote one more line. Override after issuer call. Bill paid, no wire. The sink dripped once. Twice. Like a metronome for a lesson I should have learned sooner, and finally had. Love is not the same as making a hole in your own hull so someone else can keep their shoes dry. I wiped the counter. turned the phone so I could see the screen light up if it chose to, and left the kitchen without turning that compulsion into action. At the bedroom door, I stopped and spoke to the empty air the way people do when they want to make sure they are heard by the only person who needs to hear. "You're my son," I said. "I am your mother, and today, I chose the kind of help that doesn't break me to save you." I went back to the table, added one final note under the day's entries, "Do not engage on social media," and drew a box beside it I intended to keep empty. Then I closed the notebook and laid the pen across the top like a small bar. The phone stayed face up. The house went quiet. Somewhere across an ocean, a young man rejoined his party having paid a bill the hard way, which is to say the adult way, in South Los Angeles. His mother turned off the kitchen light, steady in the dark, and let the money stay quiet so the truth could make the noise. The money stayed quiet overnight. I kept my phone face up, the red notebook on top of the packet. In the morning, I packed both like lunch. At security, I slid my keys and notebook into a gray tray, watched them glide into the scanner. No small talk, no story about my son, just breath steady. 4 in, 4 out. A receptionist handed me a number on a thin slip. The room was white, built for fax. Narina sat beside me, folder on her lap. She didn't offer comfort because comfort comes after. Today was for proof. When our number flashed, we followed a staffer into a cubicle with a half-shut door. The case officer behind the desk looked at me as if weighing what I carried. "Ma'am, we'll need documentation for source of funds and any report you've filed." I opened the packet. CSV printouts, elder exploitation report, notary journal copy, CCTV tickets, bank case references. He checked each with a pencil mark. My heart slowed to match it. The door opened again. Trent slipped in, jacket wrinkled, eyes raw. He sat by the wall, pretending to read the floor. I didn't help him. I faced the officer. "There's a form," the officer said, tone even. "Statement of separation of liability. It notes you did not authorize the transactions and defines responsibility while investigation continues." The words loosened something in my chest. It was what I'd been building alone in my notebook, only now with a seal. "I'll sign," I said. He placed 2 copies. Simple language, case number, disputed funds, blue ink signature, blue, not black, because clarity matters. I took the pen and wrote my name the same way I've done on paychecks and school forms, one steady line. Narina leaned forward. "Add the case number here too," she told the officer. He nodded. Behind me, Trent shifted. My son is 6 feet tall. My love is taller. Neither needed to move. The officer reached for the pen, but Narina wasn't done. "Please attach this," she said, sliding over a printed internal email. The bank sent it after the fraud report. "Read the second line." The officer read aloud, neutral but clear. "Signature mismatch flagged. Process rushed." Silence. The room seemed to pause with us. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. For years, I'd been called difficult for asking people to slow down. Now slow was written in black and white, saving me where speed had failed. Trent leaned forward, reading the same words. A muscle worked in his jaw. No apology. No argument. Just comprehension. The officer looked between us and said, "For clarity, this is administrative, not criminal. It separates liability pending review. We don't referee family issues." "I understand," I said. And I did. I wasn't here to win. I was here to be seen correctly. He stamped both copies, his ink darker than mine but meaning the same thing. Truth applied. I tucked one set behind the notebook cover. Narina gave a single nod that meant enough for today. The officer asked if Trent had questions. "No," my son said. The right answer. Finally. We stood, gathered papers, out in the hallway. He stayed 10 feet behind, thumb to his phone. I didn't wait. Outside. The California sun hit like honesty, bright, unforgiving. I thought of the word separation in its gentlest form, of harm from person, of lie from ledger, of love from rescue, at the curb. Narina touched my arm. "We've planted all the right flags," she said. "Let the systems do their job." "Thank you," I told her. It covered more than one thing. Trent stood near the door, phone in hand, not calling me. There are bridges you don't cross until they post new weight limits. On the bus home, I wrote one line in the red notebook. Signed separation. Bank confirmed mismatch. Copy stamped. Then I capped the pen and looked out at the city. Quiet as proof. The rest would be clocks and case numbers. Steady. Impersonal. Correct. And for the first time in months, I didn't narrate my own pain. I had done my part. Enough. The house was quiet enough to hear the refrigerator sigh. The red notebook sat closed beside the sink, the phone face up just as I'd left it. When it buzzed at 4:11, a meow, the sound hit like a tap on the glass of my ribs. It rang once, twice, then a third time. I answered. "Mom, what did you do? I hate you." The words came so fast they tripped over each other. Behind him, I could hear traffic, a horn, maybe a hotel lobby echo. His voice was ragged, the edge between panic and anger. I didn't flinch. I didn't say, "I'm sorry" or "calm down." I said, "Case number 3817, verification hold signed on May 3rd, 11:46 a..." My own voice sounded like paper sliding under a door. "You're calling about that," he barked. "You froze everything. You destroyed my account." "No," I said, evenly. "The bank did. Under federal elder protection. I filed, they confirmed." He demanded a wire transfer, now, tonight. I leaned on the counter, kept my voice level. "There's an active investigation. Trent, I will not move money until the hold clears." He spat out a half laugh. "You enjoy this, don't you?" "No," I said. "I'm surviving it." In the background, Callista's voice cracked through like static. Something about humiliation, reporters, her mother's name. I didn't engage. "Trent," I said, steady as a meter. "You're the one I'm speaking to." He tried to argue in circles, but I stayed inside the small circle that mattered, the facts. I'm not the bank. I'm not your bailout. I am the account owner on record. His breathing got heavier. "You're ruining everything. We can't pay for..." I cut in gently. 2 sentences. "Trent, call the card issuer. Meet your branch officer when you land. Bring receipts." He didn't respond right away. I could hear the wind from wherever he was, the shuffle of shoes. When he finally spoke, the anger had cracked. "Will you meet me there?" "Yes," I said, with counsel present. Silence stretched. For the first time in months, it wasn't heavy, it was space. Then he tried the past tense. "You were always careful with numbers." "I still am," I said. "That's why this is going to make sense one day." He gave a small sound, not quite a laugh. "You remember the summer we fixed the car together?" "Yes," I said. "And I remember paying the mechanic after you forgot." The line softened. "I'm still your mother, Trent, just not your cashier." He exhaled through his nose, and then quieter. "Callista thinks you'll talk to her if..." "No," I interrupted. "My conversations about money will be with the account holder on record. That's you." He went silent again. I could hear the car door open, the muffled sound of someone muttering at him. He came back with a voice smaller than before. "So that's it?" I didn't raise mine. "Write down this number." I repeated the case ID slowly. He echoed it back, each digit like a step on gravel. "Good night," Trent, I said, and for the first time in this entire mess, I ended the call first. I set the phone down, let the kitchen hum fill the space again. Then I opened the red notebook, drew one clean line across a fresh page, and wrote, 4:11 a.m. Call from Trent. Phrases: what did you do? I hate you. Outcome: hold confirmed. Directive given. Call ended by me. I tore off a small sticky, wrote S10, verbal record, and pressed it over the corner. Paper doesn't shout back, it just remembers. By the time I brewed a weak cup of tea, the sky outside had turned the color of pencil erasers. The phone stayed face up on the counter. I didn't dread the next ring. I understood it would come when it was supposed to. I watched the window go from gray to daylight. The tea cooled. The notebook stayed open. I wasn't the villain he named at 4:11 a. I was the woman who stopped the bleeding with a boundary. And sometimes, that's the only kind of love that works. I met Narina under the bank's glass awning, red notebook open to today's page. 3 goals, I said, tapping my list. Pick up the CCTV, confirm escalation status, log everything. She nodded. No pep talk, just readiness. The branch manager waved us in. Ms. Marlowe, Ms. Grayson, he said, hands flat on the desk. I see your temporary verification hold and case number. His voice was neutral, and that was enough. I don't need sympathy. I need accuracy. Security arrived next, carrying a padded envelope and a USB drive sealed with a red tamper sticker. Media linked to your request, he said. He read the envelope number aloud. I wrote it down, initialed across the seam, M.S., and logged the time and badge ID. Ink steadied my hands better than air. The manager pressed a button. Compliance wants a word. A woman's voice filled the room, calm and exact. For the record, we cannot confirm or deny any regulatory filings. The account remains under enhanced monitoring. Outbound wires are suspended pending review. I wrote each phrase word for word. Cannot confirm or deny. Enhanced monitoring. No outbound wires. Narina asked for the case reference again. The manager recited it carefully, and I boxed it in my notes. A staffer guided us to a side room with a single monitor. Preview only, he said. The USB is your copy. The footage flickered. A wire desk, timestamp visible. A man stepped into frame during the time window we'd specified. I didn't lean closer. I just wrote the overlay down, date, hour, minute. Proof lived in numbers now, not explanations. The staffer printed a media receipt. I stapled it behind today's page. Back in the manager's office, I asked one last time, outbound wires still suspended? Yes, he said, until compliance clears review. Thank you, I replied. Gratitude costs less than anger. Outside, sunlight bounced off glass. No celebration, no relief. We headed to the county recorder where walls hummed with printer noise and numbered signs. When my turn came, I slid my license under the window. Grant deed history search, please. The clerk typed, frowned, printed, and passed me a sheet. Between 2 clean filings, one line blinked like a bruise, rejected deed submission. The note read, signature variance, notary deficiency. Narina leaned in. We'll need a certified copy. The clerk stamped it and wrote her initials. I logged the reference ID twice, on the page and a sticky tab folded over the edge. Would you like the note text? She asked. Yes. She read it softly. Proposed language. Add as joint tenant with rights of survivorship. Rejected due to variance and notary deficiency. Her voice lowered. Whoever filed this didn't pass validation. My chest tightened. Not fear, confirmation. Someone had tried to move me on paper. The system caught it. Narina circled the phrase, joint tenant. That's the trick, she said. It keeps your name. but shifts control after you're gone. We added the certified sheet to my packet in the hallway. Narina drafted a short email, USB number, compliance phrasing, recorder's ID, rejection notes, no speeches, just bullet points. She sent it to the bank's case address, CC'd me, and forwarded it to our ACS contact. I liked how her fingers moved, confident, not performative. On the bus home, the city slid by like a spreadsheet, rows, lines, structure. I opened the red notebook and wrote new headers: bank, media, compliance, language, recorder, rejected ID, under each. I copied the key phrases exactly: cannot confirm, deny, enhanced monitoring, signature variance, notary deficiency, joint tenant, rejected. When the pen paused, I let the silence hold. Accuracy has its own sound, back home. I placed the sealed USB in the tin beside the stove, the one that holds tape, receipts, and birthday candles. Important things should live where I can reach them. I slid the certified page behind today's entry and drew a thin underline. My phone buzzed once. Update when convenient. Unknown number. I set it face down. If it's real, they'll send a letter. Paper moves slower but tells the truth every time. I brewed tea and stood while it steeped. The refrigerator clicked on. A neighbor's door shut. Outside, the sky turned the color of cooled metal. I traced the edge of the notebook, blue ink worn thin from weeks of signatures. For the first time since all this began, I knew where the center was. They tried to rewrite my life with forged ink. Today, I wrote it back in mine. Tomorrow, the footage will speak louder than either of us. The morning after the recorder's office, I rode the metro with the sealed USB in my tote and the certified page folded into my notebook. I wrote the time in the margin. Proof. Real proof. Always feels heavier than paper should. I thought about the corridor at the bank, the hum of the lights, the smell of sanitizer, and the young woman who'd paused beside me. "Aren't you scared?" she'd asked. I'd smiled without looking up. "I don't argue with people," I said. "I argue with paper." I didn't plan it. It just came out clean and true. Now, waiting for my bus. My phone buzzed. My neighbor sent a link. "Is this you?" I tapped. The same corridor, the same bench. My voice. Someone had recorded that moment. The caption read, "Grandma gives a masterclass in boundaries." My stomach dropped. I sat down and let the world blur. The comments poured under it like rain, some kind, some cruel. I put the phone face down. 4 breaths. Count them. Don't feed the noise. I sent the link to Narina. She replied with a screenshot, time-stamped, username captured. "Do not comment." She texted, "Preserve, don't perform." I smiled. That was why I trusted her. Then came another message, this time from a local reporter. "Would you like to comment on elder financial exploitation?" I called Narina. We agreed on one line. She wrote, "We trust the process and our paperwork. No names, no spin. Exactly right." The bus pulled into my stop. My phone buzzed again. Trent. I saw the clip. "Are you proud? They're calling me a thief." I typed the case number and "speak with your bank contact." Then I slid the phone away. Love doesn't mean taking every blow meant for someone else. At the corner market, the cashier whispered, "We saw your video." I nodded once, paid cash, and tucked the receipt under my notebook band. Small papers build a life. Another alert slid across my screen. Callista's account had gone private. A reposted caption still leaked through. "New beginnings don't need old baggage." I let that sentence fall where it landed. I wasn't her baggage. Back home. I texted the clip to Bram. He answered, "Good line." Keep the tin shut. I set the USB tin by the stove, poured hot water over a reused tea bag, and watched it cloud. Modesty isn't virtue, it's survival on a budget. Narina called that evening. Reporter got the statement, she said. One sentence, nothing more, no attachments, no photos. Good, I said. I don't want to become a story about a story. You won't, she said. Paperwork's the main character now. I like that. The idea that paper could hold the camera steadier than people. I wrote 2 lines under today's notes. Paper spoke, people watched. We keep the volume low. The phone rang again. Unknown number. I let it ring out. Another came. Same thing. Narina texted a minute later. National morning show. Will pass. I texted back. Thank you. 2 words. But enough. Trent tried again that afternoon. Say something online. He wrote. They're dragging me. I typed. Meet me at the branch next week with counsel present. He sent a thumbs down. I didn't answer. Boundaries aren't arguments. They're doors that stay locked until respect knocks. By dusk, the clip had spread through dozens of accounts. My neighbor said most comments were kind. One woman wrote, I wish my mom had said this years ago. Another, make it a t-shirt. Someone called me the elder queen. I smiled, but only a little. I'm no queen, just a mother with a notebook and a case number. I brewed another mug of tea and leaned on the counter, phone face down. The house hummed softly. The fridge, a bus outside, someone's laughter through an open window. I thought of that corridor again, how my voice had come out calm and exact, like it had been waiting its whole life for that moment. If people insist on calling it revenge, fine. My revenge is order. It's the kind that makes chaos trip on its own shoelaces. It's one steady line of truth instead of 1,000 words of noise. It's saying no to microphones because I already said yes to the evidence. Before bed, I logged the reporter's outlet, time, and the post ID. Then I wrote one last note. Paper holds, noise fades. I shut the notebook and clicked the tin closed. The phone lit once more. I let it go dark by itself. I washed a single cup, looked out the window and whispered to the quiet street, they can talk. I'll keep my records. Tomorrow, I'll walk into that bank with the same notebook, the same pen, and a spine that doesn't bend for applause. I arrived 10 minutes early. The lobby smelled faintly of printer toner and air conditioning. I sat at the end of a long bench and wrote today's date at the top of a new notebook page. Bank. Final access change. The line steadied me. Proof always starts with handwriting. Trent came in 2 minutes before the hour, holding a coffee he didn't drink. His shirt was half-tucked, his eyes red in a way that no sleep could fix. We nodded, nothing more. The ache was there, but quiet, like a bruise you don't press. The branch manager opened the glass door and gestured us in. Good morning, Ms. Marlowe. Mr. Marlowe. He typed the case number, then tapped a button. A calm voice came through the speaker. Compliance liaison online. Policy language filled the air. Rules, steps, timelines. I listened like a student who already knew the exam answers. The first paper arrived. Account access modification, the manager said. I signed my name where the bank instructed, removing shared online access. He passed the copy to Trent, who stared at it for a second too long, then signed to acknowledge. The pen clicked shut. The sound was small, but final. Narina reached into her folder and laid out the next sheet. Bram's promissory draft. 1 page, 4 numbers. And a promise. Repayment schedule. Default clause. Witness lines. Read every word, she said softly. Trent did. His hand hovered. Then he signed. His initials trembled a little but stayed inside the lines. I felt the air change, the sound of responsibility becoming ink. I slid the receipts ledger across the table. Line by line, I said. He nodded. For each transfer, each date, each amount. He wrote his initials beside the entry. The manager witnessed every mark, and it took time. I didn't rush him. I just let the paper tell its truth, slow and clear. When he reached the last line, he whispered, "I didn't know she," then stopped. His voice cracked once, then steadied. I knew enough. He signed the final set of initials. That was the closest thing to an apology I was going to get. And it was enough. The compliance liaison's voice came back on speaker. "To confirm," she said, "outbound wires remain restricted pending review. Enhanced monitoring continues. The separation of liability on file stands as of this meeting." "Understood," I said. It wasn't comfort, but it was closure. Policy doesn't love you back, but it doesn't lie to you either. The manager handed over 2 stamped copies, one of the access change, one of the promissory note. Narina photographed the corners with her phone, timestamps visible. She slid the originals into my folder and nodded. "All signatures verified," she said. We stood. The room felt smaller now, as if the paper had absorbed the noise. In the lobby, Trent said, "Mom," just that one word, hanging there. I looked at him, not through him, and spoke the only 2 sentences I had prepared. "You will pay what you signed. I will speak to you at the bank or through counsel." He blinked like he hadn't heard right, then nodded once. No argument, no hug, no scene. That was mercy enough. I capped my blue pen, wrote the time, and logged. Promissory signed, receipts initialed, compliance confirmed. Then I turned toward the glass doors. My steps felt sure, measured. You can love someone and still refuse to be their soft landing. Outside, the city heat pressed against my face. I stopped on the front steps and opened the red notebook. The signed pages went inside, aligned at the spine. I looped the elastic and let it snap closed, a sound like a small door locking in the right direction. For a long minute, I just stood there, breathing in the sun and the noise of traffic. No triumph, no breakdown, just air and certainty. Behind me, through the glass, I saw Trent talking to the manager. Narina said something to him I couldn't hear, but her hand was steady on her folder. People passing by probably thought we were just another family handling business. They weren't wrong. Every family becomes a kind of paperwork eventually. Names, dates, obligations, and signatures that say who will carry what. At the crosswalk. My phone buzzed. A text from Trent. "I'll start payments next Friday." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The ink already had. I waited for the light, crossed the street, and thought about how many times I'd tried to fix things with words. Words can charm, defend, distract, but paper remembers. Paper forgives in record form only. It lists, it stamps, it ends. When I reached the bus stop, I sat down and opened the notebook again. Beneath the signatures, I wrote one final line, paper over apologies. Then I underlined it once, firmly. The bus hissed up to the curb. I climbed aboard, the notebook balanced on my knees, the city sliding by in the window's reflection. Somewhere inside the glass tower behind me, my son was learning what I already knew. Love doesn't erase numbers, and remorse doesn't cancel ink. Tomorrow. I'll file the copies and brew my tea like always. The ledger will stay where it belongs. Closed, but true. The story isn't about what he took anymore. It's about what I refuse to give back. My peace. Morning came the way I like it, quiet, with the kettle not yet loud. I opened the red notebook to a fresh page and wrote at the top, final balances. Columns add up even when feelings don't. I totaled the amounts against the promissory schedule, drew a straight line, and felt a click in my chest, like a drawer sliding flush. The math matched the ink. That was enough to start the day. I turned to the back cover for the letter I had promised myself I would write when the dust settled. Not a letter to send, one to leave. 3 short paragraphs, no flourishes. First, what I gave in time and money and patience. Second, what I learned, which is that love is a lane and not a currency. Third, what I release, the need to be understood by people mid-spin. I dated the bottom and tucked the page under the elastic as if tucking a child into bed at 10. Narina knocked with 2 manila envelopes and a small smile that said we were nearly done. At my kitchen table, she slid out a simple will and a healthcare directive. Plain language, clear witnesses, she said. My neighbor from next door came in with her reading glasses and signed where the sticky flags told her to. We didn't talk about tragedy. We talked about who could hold a casserole and who would remember the spare key. Relief can sound like gossip when it lives in ordinary rooms. When they left, I stood by the stove and opened the old tin. Inside went the sealed USB, the stamped copies from the bank, the newest receipts list, the media receipt, the recorder's index sheet. On top, like a title card. I placed the little index card with the case numbers and dates. Important things belong where your hands know to reach. By early afternoon, I sent 2 words to the neighborhood thread. Tea tonight? No hashtags. No invitations dressed like announcements. The pastor texted back 5 minutes later. Church hall is open. Lights on. We'll set chairs. That's his way, quiet logistics. A room ready when a person needs to be seen and not displayed. At 6, folding chairs scraped over the church hall floor like distant waves. Someone brought lemonade in a glass dispenser with a sticky spigot. Children taped paper hearts to the cinder block wall with blue painter's tape. One drew a notebook with a superhero cape. I laughed and told her capes catch indoors. Better to keep your tools small. A neighbor strummed a soft blues progression. Another hummed. We didn't make speeches. We made space. I stood once because they waited for me. Paper kept me safe, I said. People kept me standing. That was all. Applause came like rain on a roof. Present, not performative. We poured more tea and traded small stories about lost checks and found receipts and the way a name on a line can feel like a life raft. When the chairs folded back into the closet, dusk turned the sky the color of a bruise fading. I walked home along the block that has watched me age and watched my son grow tall and watch both of us forget our better selves now and then. Half a street from my place. I saw him. Trent stood on the far curb with a white paper bag in his hand and a look I recognized from childhood. The one he wore when he had a rock he wasn't sure he should throw. He didn't cross. I didn't wave him over. I lifted my chin the smallest bit. He did the same. We let the moment be a bridge that didn't have to carry weight, only sight. On my porch, I found the bag set carefully by the step, like a delivery no one wants stolen. Inside, 2 donuts, still warm enough to fog the paper, and a sticky note with my bank case number copied in his handwriting. No apology. No paragraphs. Just the numbers that matter, written by the man who had tried to outrun them. I carried the bag into the kitchen and did not make meaning bigger than it was. Some days, you accept the small thing that arrived and do not demand it speak for everything that didn't. I pulled a photo from the drawer, the one of Trent at 7 in a red T-ball jersey, cheeks round, eyes like the morning after rain. I set it on the living room shelf and stood the red notebook beside it. Upright, elastic band snug, love kept, boundaries kept. Both can live on the same shelf if you dust them regularly, back at the table. I wrote the final line of the only ledger that mattered to me now. Accountability in progress, motherhood intact. I stamped the date with a tiny rubber stamp Bram found at a yard sale and closed the cover. The elastic snapped with a small, satisfying sound. Not a door slamming, just a book at rest. The neighborhood settled into evening noises. A dog collar chimed. A screen door slapped shut. A bus sighed on the next avenue. I filled the kettle again and set out 2 cups, one for me, one left warm on the table for whoever learns to knock without taking. Maybe someday that will be my son. Maybe it will be a neighbor with a form they don't understand. Maybe it will be no one, and I will drink both. People think revenge is loud. Mine turned out to be structure. A case number in the right box. A witness where a witness belongs. A will that says my house knows my name. A community that shows up with lemonade and chairs. I didn't win by making anyone small. I won by refusing to disappear. I took a bite of the donut, sugar catching on my lip, and laughed softly because it tasted like Saturday mornings that cost $1 and lasted all day. I lifted Trent's sticky note and pressed it under the notebook band, not as proof against him, but as proof that paper can carry love without breaking it. At the window, the last light thinned to blue. I turned off the kitchen lamp and let the room hold itself. Tomorrow, payments may start or stumble, calls may come or not. The ledger is closed either way. The story, the only one I am responsible for, ends where it should, with a mother who kept her name on her life and her heart open at the speed of trust. I'm not a judge. I'm a mother who learned that love needs a backbone, paper, dates, receipts, clear plans, protected my future when emotions wanted the wheel. If you're facing a mess, start a small ledger. What happened? When? Who was there? Say less. Document more. Boundaries aren't punishment. They're respect for you and for the people who may grow up next to you. What would go in your red notebook today? Who needs a kind, firm boundary from you? If this story reached you, drop a 1 or tell me where you're watching from. If it didn't, say why. I'm listening. And if you want more true, healing stories, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one.